All right, I want to bring you this update. Ceasefire talks between Israel and Hamas have ended in Cairo without a deal. Negotiators worked to secure a temporary pause in fighting in exchange for a hostage release and prisoner swap. Israel has threatened an attack on Rafah if Israeli hostages aren't freed by Ramadan. That begins next week. Meanwhile, the U.S. is working on its next steps to provide additional aid into Gaza. U.S. State Department Principal Deputy Spokesperson Vedant Patel told Anne-Marie Green earlier today the administration is doing everything it can to send in supplies quickly and safely.
Our point of view, Anne-Marie, is that every lever possible needs to be pulled when it comes to humanitarian aid, and that is what we are trying to do in close coordination with partners in the region.
Let's bring in CBS News senior White House correspondent Weijia Jiang, as you can see, joining us from the White House this afternoon. Weijia, great to see you. As we've just mentioned, this week's negotiations in Cairo ended without a solution, right? Without this temporary ceasefire resolution. What happens now?
Errol, that is a big open-ended question because they had been working on this deal for several weeks. And at one point, even President Biden expressed optimism that there would be a temporary ceasefire by this past Monday. And as early as yesterday, the White House said that it was hopeful that they would be able to reach a deal. That is, all the parties involved will be able to come to an agreement by that first night of Ramadan, as you mentioned, which is so critical. But because it looks like that isn't happening, it's unclear when, if, and in what way that the parties could come back to the table. Of course, the U.S. is very invested and involved in this, and most recently said that it was Hamas that had to agree to the framework of the deal. And so, we will continue to press the White House about what the path forward is, but there is still optimism that something can be done in the next few days, especially because they had gotten so close. But of course, things were soured whenever there was that incident in Gaza City that led to more than 100 Palestinian civilians dying because they were trying to access a convoy of aid, and there was a resulting stampede. Errol.
Yeah, Weijia, and now we're seeing the U.S., in the State Department's words, pulling other levers to get aid into the area. The military conducting now its second airdrop of aid into Gaza on Tuesday. What then is the White House doing to expand those efforts as the diplomatic negotiations are underway?
Well, the White House has indicated that this is just the beginning, that they will continue to do airdrops to try to get meals, supplies, water on the ground there. But I have to say, Earl, some humanitarian groups are criticizing this move because it really just provides a drop in the bucket of what is needed. As an example, yesterday's drop provided about 36,000 meals. There are nearly 2 million people in that concentrated area alone. And so, as you can imagine, a lot more must be done, which is why the administration continues to press Israel to open up more routes on the ground and to allow more trucks to go in. They're also looking at various ways they can provide aid by sea. But, Errol, it's difficult because it is Israel that is so far blocking this access to many of the trucks. And the U.S., even though has offered some harsh words for Israel and even said that they are insisting and demanding that they do more, there are no consequences if not. The White House says that, even though they continue to put this pressure on, they're not going to stop supporting Israel's right to defend itself. They're not going to cut off all the resources that the U.S. is supplying right now over this aid issue.
And we're just seeing footage of that aid being airdropped and people really rushing what look like boxes of supplies. Weijia, we know we're close to the President's State of the Union address. What can we expect?
Well, I don't think it was intentional, but the Speaker of the House gave the president a gift by inviting the president to deliver this State of the Union just 2 days after Super Tuesday. So it is, even though an official speech, I think one of the most critical campaign speeches that we will hear from the president as he talks about everything that he has accomplished so far in his presidency and tries to lay out, what's at stake if he is not reelected. Of course, he won't use those words explicitly, but he will paint a vision of what more he wants to do, as well as remind Americans of what he believes he has done to lower the cost for them, especially when it comes to prescription drugs. He will, of course, talk about foreign policy, these conflicts abroad, as well as abortion and reproductive rights and the border, Errol. So there's a lot to get to. But again, I imagine he will try to draw the contrast between he and the former president, whether he name checks him or not, because this is a massive stage as the general election begins. Errol.
All right, Weijia Jiang, thank you very much.